Welcome to another edition of Powered by Predator with Goliath Gaming. And today we get to find out a little bit more about what it takes to become a professional esports player. I'm here with Ruan Elusive van Beek. And when I say professional esports player, what I actually mean is living the dream. Because Elusive, you got to get on a plane, take all your belongings to the US and make the big time. I mean, you basically made South African history.
Yeah, we were. I guess we're the fortunate few that had the chance to pioneer and go overseas and try and make a living of it, like you say. The six of us obviously doing Project Destiny. It was an absolutely awesome experience for anyone that wants to obviously pursue gaming as a professional career. That's kind of where you need to go to. You need to compete locally, you need to prove yourself locally, and then obviously that next step would be trying to go overseas and see how that goes for you.
I think for anyone watching who plays competitively, there's immediately a thing of like, well, I know that I can be the best. I want to go overseas. I need sponsorship. I need all the money so you can send me there. What is the ugly truth as a player? I mean, I say ugly. It wasn't ugly for you, but what is the actual grind that it takes to get to that point where a company will invest in you and ultimately try and help you live your dream?
Well, look, there are a lot of ups and downs when it comes to this type of thing. Ultimately, firstly, from an in-game perspective, you need to develop yourself as a player. You need to be at that level where you can go overseas and you can go and compete there. You need obviously that financial backing, either from investors or from an organizational perspective, or you need to pretty much self-fund yourself to be able to go over there. So ultimately, there's a lot that goes into it. But when you do go over, you need to take a lot of things into consideration. Like, I mean, have you lived by yourself before? Have you lived with other people before? You moving out, you moving into a different country, potentially alone, potentially with teammates. There's a lot of struggles outside of the game as well. It's something that people just need to remember. Like, you've got obviously the in-game side of things and how hard you need to grind and make sure that you're at the top of your game, putting in that 8 to 10 hours every day and still working on your individual side and criticizing yourself. And then the living aspect of living with your teammates or living by yourself and taking care of yourself. And then there's the whole financial aspect as well, making sure that you've actually got the means to do that. So it's a lot if you put it together. But I mean, if you going over with the idea of making it a career and giving it your best, then these are just the type of things that you need to consider before doing so.
How many years were you playing at the top level of CSGO before Project Destiny happened?
Well, I mean, I joined Energy in, I think it was 2013, and then we kind of had a 2.5 year stint where we were grinding our way up to the top. There was obviously that big rivalry with BVD all the way through. They win, then we win. Unfortunately, nearing the end, they started winning a bit more. And that's shortly afterwards, obviously, Ashton went over goals, and then Sonic went over, and then eventually I went over as well to BVD. So at the end of 2015, I'd say that was probably when I was competing at the top, up until the point where we went overseas in 2018.
When you were overseas and you're doing this full time, this is your career now. I think that a lot of people watching may think, okay, cool, you're living the dream. You just spend all day sitting, you play video games, sometimes you go to tournaments. What did an actual, like, normal day as a full time professional CSGO player, what does that actually look like?
Well, look, it kind of depends, firstly, from individual to individual. Some of the guys would go to bed, quite late, 1, 2, 3 o'clock, and then they'll be up at around 11 or 12. But pretty much our schedule was from 12 o'clock to about 10 o'clock at night. We would be playing Counter-Strike nonstop. We would obviously have some breaks for lunch and stuff, but it would be a good 8 hours of CS every day, potentially more, especially if there's tournaments. Tournaments could start earlier, they could end later. So for some of the guys like me that wants to, try and get a bit more balance, and I liked, waking up a bit earlier, having breakfast, going out, doing things. And then I would obviously go to bed earlier. Some of the other guys obviously prefer to just sleep all the way up until we're going to practice. And then they would do their stuff that they want to do later on after practice. So at the end of the day, it kind of depends on, how the dynamic of the house. If you're living by yourself, if you're living with teammates, who's responsible for cleaning, for cooking, for doing this or that, buying groceries, all of those type of things. So you got to fit all of those things in with the gaming. So ultimately, it depends on individual on the individual what they need to keep themselves happy, given the toll of playing 8 to 10 hours every single day.
So to recap, it's a normal job. You work 8 to 10 hours, and in between that, you need to be an adult. You need to clean. You need to cook.
Yeah.
Because so it's like any normal job, and you've got to find balance. You've come back now though from the States. You're back in South Africa. You've joined this Goliath gaming lineup. This must be an interesting one for you because you're kind of you're the old man in the group, for want of a better term. You come with the experience, and I'm presuming you are now the leader that everyone is looking up to.
Yeah, so I mean, when I was playing for Sin 5 after I came back from the States, obviously I took a bit of a break. I came back playing semi-competitively, and now I'm back into it, more competitively playing for Goliath. I came in obviously as the in-game leader and as the captain of the team, kind of managing the squad as well, doing all of those things. So it's awesome with the guys. I know a lot of them beforehand. Obviously I've played with some of them before, some I haven't, but there's a lot of respect in the squad immediately from when I came in. I think everyone sees, obviously, I've been overseas, I've got experience, and I've got knowledge that I can, give over to the guys. But at the end of the day, everyone just needs to be of the mindset that you can learn from anyone. It doesn't matter if it's someone that's been at the top or someone that hasn't. So we all really respect each other, and we've got a really cool dynamic going. So yeah, it's awesome.
You came back to focus on your studies. Tell me a little bit about what you're studying and how you find balance between playing competitively and getting that right as well.
Yeah, so just to give a little bit of background, it was obviously unfortunate nearing the end of the Project Destiny stint. We were kind of in a position where do we re-sign for, well, at least for myself, do I re-sign myself for another year, or do I come back with my studies, which at that point was kind of, it's the last year of my studies before that curriculum actually changes, and I might lose my all the work that I've done up until that point. So for me, it was either go full on into gaming and it needs to work out for at least another 5 to 10 years, or I need to come back and, continue with my studies and make a living that way. So ultimately, yeah, I came back, started doing my postgrad. It's 2-year postgrad studies. So it's evening classes, part-time. And obviously now with COVID, it's online lectures. So it's a lot more bearable than it would have been if I had to drive to class every single day. But yeah, I mean, in between work, well, currently unemployed, but in between work, in between studies, in between gaming, in between, living by yourself and taking care of things, it's a lot more balanced, a lot more of an adult lifestyle, if you will. So just got to, prioritize the things that are important, and, take it from there.
I think it's a great example though that you can study, you can further yourself in that way, and you can still play competitively at the top level like you're doing. And maybe an important message for, maybe there are players out there who aren't necessarily looking at flying to the US, but still want to compete at the top level. Yeah, they can do that, and they can still focus on furthering their other careers.
Yeah, I think ultimately it depends on the title, and also depends on the competition. At the end of the day, if we look at our local scene right now, just for Counter-Strike, so obviously you've got 80K at the top currently. These guys are playing to do what we did in Project Destiny. They're preparing to go overseas. That's really the ultimate goal. And they want to, preferably do better than we did. They want to carry on from where we took off. So, I mean, if we take our squad now in Goliath, that's not really our purpose. We kind of just want to play locally, compete locally, and have fun while doing that, while still, competing to be the best. So ultimately, there's kind of, we obviously not playing at the same level as 8K or grinding that same level. But there's different work ethics, different ways to kind of achieve different results. So, we're more of the mindset that if you're having fun and the dynamic in the team's good, you can play at a much higher level. So, like I said, ultimately depends on the title and depends on how hard people want to work.
I think you hit something there that a lot of people forget sometimes, maybe, in my opinion, when it comes to gaming, is it's meant to be fun as well. That's why we all started. So I like that idea that in the Goliath gaming squad, there is a push to find balance and have a lot of fun.
No, that's ultimately the goal when I came in, because going back to that, 80K level grind of, wanting to really be the best and go overseas and stuff, that's kind of where I lost my, the fun element of the gaming side. You know, it was more fun playing the game and, you know, playing with individuals that you enjoy playing with, and everyone taking it a bit less seriously, if you will. And ultimately you end up finding you playing better than you would have if you were just taking it 100% serious the whole time. So
Ryan, thank you so much for talking to us. And of course, Predator Gaming has partnered with Goliath Gaming to bring you Powered by Predator, these incredible stories about some of South Africa's most prolific esports faces. And hopefully you've learned something along the way. If you want to find out more or you want to watch more stories just like this, then make sure you follow the hashtag Powered by Predator. We'll see you next time.